Welcome to the Eat Better, Move Better, Live Better podcast presented by Flourish with Tracy, where we'll dive into the realms of holistic wellness, plant-based nutrition, yoga, and self-care to help you live your best life. Tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for our special segments. Meditation Monday. Start your week with mindfulness. Wellness Wednesdays. Get the midweek boost you need. Sadhana Saturdays. Dedicate weekends to personal growth. Join us as we explore and discuss all things to eat better, move better, and live better. Welcome to our sadhana today and part 3 of our 5-part study of the Yamas. This week we're going to study the practice of non-stealing, Asteya. Now, most of us are not thieves. We don't walk around taking things. We don't steal from others, so you think this doesn't apply to you. However, in the practice of Yamas, yoga philosophy invites us to look at this just a little bit deeper, because stealing is not just limited to physical objects. We can steal without even realizing it or being intention-based to do so. We can steal time, energy, trust, peace, without even thinking. We also steal opportunities, attention, emotional labor, credit, presence, and sometimes we steal even our own potential. So Asteya asks us to explore, where does scarcity live within us? Because often stealing begins with a belief that there's not enough of something. Not enough success, love, recognition, worth, abundance, validation. So we can explore non-stealing or explore Asteya through our self-worth, compassion, boundaries, how we exchange our energy, and our relationships or spiritual integrity. Asteya ultimately is the lesson in learning how to live from a perspective of, I have enough, I am sufficient, rather than from a perspective of lack. The word Asteya in Sanskrit breaks down into A, meaning without, or Asteya, meaning stealing. So without stealing or non-stealing. Traditionally, it included not taking what does not belong to us materially or physically. But it is more than that, as I've mentioned. Don't waste resources. Don't violate trust. Don't take credit unfairly or manipulate attention. Don't consume from a place of emptiness. Don't take more than what you need. At its core, Asteya asks, am I taking what has not been freely given? And it also asks you to examine insecurity, greed, entitlement, comparison. Because when we feel that we're internally lacking, we often seek externally what we believe is missing within. Asteya teaches that there is enough for all. There's enough worth, there's enough opportunity, enough abundance, and enough space for everyone to exist authentically. There is literally no need to steal. No reason, no justification. So as you ponder that, also realize that there are different forms of stealing. Stealing can happen in very subtle ways. It's important to be aware of both the visible and the invisible ways. The most obvious, as we know, is physical, taking belongings, money, resources, and things that do not belong to us. But Asteya also includes taking excessively beyond what we actually need. Overconsumption is a form of imbalance. And it's important that we have a mindful relationship with resources. An invisible form of stealing is taking time. Stealing time. Our time is sacred. And we steal time when we chronically disrespect boundaries. We arrive late or consistently unprepared. We dominate a conversation. We overcommit or repeatedly cancel. Or we expect emotional access without reciprocity. Asteya asks, do I honor the value of another person's time and energy? And speaking of energy theft is also a invisible but extremely common way that we steal. An example would be emotionally dumping without consent, manipulating, always a constant crisis cycle, attention seeking at others' expense, trying to control from a guilt-based perspective, or expecting others to regulate our emotions continuously. Relationships require exchange, but unconscious taking creates imbalance. And Asteya asks us to be responsible for our own energy. Another silent, invisible way of stealing is taking credit for something that does not belong to us. Stealing credit means taking recognition unfairly, using others' ideas without acknowledgement, dishonestly copying work, or diminishing another person's contribution. Asteya honors fairness and integrity. And then the final example of stealing that's invisible is unconsciously stealing peace. You take someone's peace by evoking drama, chaos, criticism, fatality, aggression, some sort of unresolved projection. It doesn't mean that you can't express if you're having a pain point, but ask yourself, am I bringing awareness to my behavior, or am I unconsciously spreading suffering? Am I stealing or taking the peace of my audience? One of the deepest roots of stealing is scarcity. And we understand. Scarcity says there's not enough. Scarcity says someone is having something means less for me. Scarcity says I must compete to matter. Scarcity says I must take to survive emotionally or physically. Scarcity fuels envy and jealousy, comparison, insecurity. Asteya invites us into an abundance of consciousness, not ignoring practical realities, but recognizing that another person's success does not diminish your own personal worth. It helps you to get away from the modern society encouragement of comparison culture. There's no need to compare wealth or relationships or spirituality, appearance. There's no need to compare anything. And you may ask, well, how does comparison culture equate to stealing? Well, when you are in that cycle of comparison, you are stealing your joy, your confidence, your presence, your gratitude. You become instead obsessed with what others have that I do not. So Asteya asks, can I appreciate others without diminishing myself? Jealousy and envy is also an invisible way that you can steal. How? Well, when you are being envious, you are neglecting your own dreams or unmet needs. You may be revealing insecurity or areas that require healing. So how does that equal stealing? Well, let's just reverse that. If you are being jealous or envious, you are stealing from yourself. You're stealing from your opportunity to nurture your dreams, to meet your needs, to feel secure, to address your healing. So you can ask yourself, if you feel those thoughts, what is that emotion trying to teach you? And you can transform comparison, jealousy, and envy into self-understanding. Because when we're in that form, we may not be really understanding that we have been stealing from ourselves. And we steal from ourselves most of the time. We, in addition to comparison, jealousy, and envy, we procrastinate our growth. We abandon our personal boundaries. We ignore our inner voice or intuition. We stay disconnected from our calling or purpose. We don't take care of ourselves. We betray what we need and suppress our creativity. And every time we ignore our inner truth and authenticity, we are stealing from our own well-being. And this can lead to stealing our own peace. We unknowingly do it all the time, overthinking, negative self-talk, remaining in unhealthy environments, seeking perfectionism. Asteya asks us to reflect on, what am I taking away from myself repeatedly? What am I stealing from myself? And if you do this constantly, trying to sometimes gain approval, which could show up as people-pleasing or omitting truths, abandoning your values, or shrinking yourself to appear smaller just to be accepted, you have committed yet another form of stealing, where you've abandoned yourself. You've stolen from your truth, and your authentic self deserves space. And as you create this space of truth, understand that Asteya can show up in relationships. Healthy relationships require balance, mutual respect. And when you are practicing Asteya in your relationships, you respect boundaries, you honor consent, you value giving and taking, back and forth, sharing, and avoiding being possessive. Because possessiveness is another silent, invisible way that we may steal. When we attempt to own others emotionally, to control them, or we may create a platform of excessive dependency, fear-based attachment, or monitoring behavior. People are not possessions. We should not possess nor be possessed. Asteya reminds us that love is not ownership. We can't steal someone's emotions. We can't control them. And as we talk about relationships naturally involve support. Don't steal someone's emotions. Don't cause emotional labor. When you continually carry healing work, communication labor, and it's one-sided, that's imbalanced, then you are stealing time from yourself. The other person is stealing from you and your ability to heal. So the question that Asteya asks is, am I consciously contributing to relational balance? Another form that we steal without realizing it is active listening and being present. When we interrupt constantly or center every conversation around ourselves, we are unintentionally stealing space from others. Asteya includes making room and space for others to fully exist authentically. Presence then becomes generosity. And this generosity leads to consumption. Ask yourself, are you taking more than you need? Are you attached to accumulation? Just mindless consumption to fill emotional emptiness? Or are you able to practice gratitude for what already exists? When you practice Asteya, you shift the focus from consuming and grasping to appreciating what you already have. To stop consuming social media, products, food. Taking just what you need to nourish as you need. And then finally, another invisible form of Asteya is the practice of spiritual practice with humility. Because sometimes we don't even realize that we can steal within our spirituality. An example would be taking a teaching without acknowledging, using your spirituality for status, appropriating sacred practices carelessly, pretending wisdom that's not yet embodied, being a false prophet, or presenting others' insight as your own. Asteya teaches to respect your lineage, your learning, your authentic experience, and your teachers. Your true wisdom never needs performance. True wisdom and practice of Asteya does not need to steal or take someone else's lived experience. So what are some practical ways you can practice Asteya daily to feel embodiment consciously? Well, you can start by just arriving on time and respecting people's boundaries, listening attentively and fully without interruption, acknowledging the contributions of others and practicing gratitude, reducing comparison, jealousy, and envy. Be happy for what others have achieved. Be happy for your own achievement. Ask before you emotionally dump on someone and then unload. Honor consent. Give credit sincerely and value your own time and energy. Taking the time to breathe mindfully, to step away from your work duties and just appreciate a meal, to honor yourself and your body intentionally, means that you're not stealing. Sometimes we steal from ourselves by believing that we don't deserve support. We don't deserve rest or joy or abundance. Receiving consciously with gratitude and humility is part of balance. You can allow yourself to receive without guilt. You deserve this space, and you deserve what you have worked for. And know and trust that you can live from the viewpoint of being sufficient, to know that there is enough, that you are enough, and that your life is your life to live without competition. You don't need to prove anything to be worthy. And all of this allows your nervous system to soften, and you can rest within that awareness with pure joy and authenticity, knowing that you are not stealing from yourself or others. You move from lack of gratitude. You move from competition to trust. You move from grasping to presence. And when you recognize your inherent worth, the need to take unconsciously or to steal unconsciously begins to soften. Asteya reminds us that our peace will grow when we stop living as though there's never enough. So I'd like you to repeat this affirmation. May I live with integrity and gratitude. May I stop stealing from myself through fear or doubt. May I move through life with balance, honesty, and awareness. May Asteya help you continue to recognize the subtle ways that imbalance can appear. And may you remember that your worth does not depend on consciously or unconsciously taking from yourself or others. Thank you for sharing time and space today. Thank you for cultivating your awareness. Thanks for tuning in. I hope today's insights help you on a personal journey towards a healthier, happier life. Don't forget to join every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. Eastern for more self-care and holistic wellness tips. Before you go, make sure to comment, click the bell, like, and subscribe buttons for upcoming episode notifications. Be sure to always consult a medical professional before making any major changes regarding your health, diet, or routine. In the meanwhile, stay motivated, stay inspired, and remember, every step you take is one step closer to a better you. Until next time, keep flourishing, and as always, may all be well.